So moments ago, Russia's foreign minister updating on a potential peace plan and a deal with Ukraine, insisting there are still no concessions on their end, while admitting they're in close contact with China over the terms of the deal. Former U.S. ambassador to NATO, Kurt Volker, served as a U.S. special representative for Ukraine in President Trump's first term, joins us now. Ambassador, a lot of optimism coming out of the Ukraine, EU, U.S. talks, but in Abu Dhabi, where the Russians are engaged, what do you hear?
Well, the Russians, I think, are just simply going to insist on their original demands and not negotiate at all. I think what happened here is they produced a wish list of everything that they want based on what Putin said in Alaska. This is what originally got published as a U.S. plan. Rubio was then dispatched by President Trump after seeing how horrific this plan was to go clean this up, work with Ukrainians, Europeans, get something reasonable. That seems to be what he has done. Everyone seems happy with this now. The U.S. and Ukraine aligned on this plan. And now the Russians are already laying the groundwork for rejecting it, saying, no, that's not what we wanted.
So if they reject it, there's got to be some consequence. Remember, when Ukraine was not considered compliant, the president said, maybe I'm going to cut off intelligence. Maybe I'm going to slow down weapons. What could you use to get Vladimir Putin's attention?
Right. The same formula that we've been talking about for months is still the formula. Right now, Putin does not feel enough pressure that he has to do anything, that he has a reason to end the war. We need to have secondary sanctions on anyone dealing with Russian oil and gas. President Trump already put in place the oil sanctions, and we had gas sanctions from Biden. But companies that are in China or India or Azerbaijan, they don't feel any reason not to trade with Russia. So we have to put secondary sanctions on them to make them just stop. The second thing is level the playing field militarily. Russia is hitting Ukraine with long-range weapons every single day, and they're using them against civilians. Give Ukraine the long-range weapons to go after military targets inside Russia that are hitting Ukraine at long range. Ukrainians have some of their own capability, but they could really use access to U.S. weapons, and this would be paid for. Again, this is not taxpayers. This is them buying the weapons.
And Ambassador, you could simply say this: if they don't see sincerity and some movement, we're going to deliver Tomahawks to Ukraine, and the Senate sanctions will be signed. And I understand that India is leveling off because Gazprom and Lukoil have both been sanctioned, and that's where they're getting their oil. So that's leveled off. So it comes down to China and Turkey are buying most of their oil. Here's the president yesterday. Listen.
We're having some talks with Russia. Ukraine is doing well. I think they're pretty happy about it. They're going to keep talking. They're talking to Russia now. Steve Witkoff is going over. Maybe with Jared, they're going to be meeting with President Putin, I believe, next week in Moscow. I don't have a deadline. You know what the deadline for me is? When it's over.
Ambassador, is Steve Witkoff the best person to go visit in Moscow with Russia? No. And why are they waiting a week? Why aren't they going today?
Well, you're absolutely right about that, Brian. If we have an agreed arrangement with Ukraine and with the EU, NATO allies, take it to Russia right away and push Russia to actually do this right now. And if not, at least have a ceasefire immediately. Those are the two steps we ought to take. Now, as for Witkoff, I've never met the man. He seems like a nice guy, but he seems that he doesn't know these issues well. There are reports overnight that some of the phone calls he had with the Russians have been leaked out by someone, again, possibly the Russians. And they reflect a lack of understanding of Russia actually being the aggressor here, that Russia has attacked and killed civilians and raped and abducted children and needs to be stopped. Instead, it's trying to partner with Russia, the aggressor, on figuring out how do we get President Trump to just push the Ukrainians.
Yeah, and the president's got maximum leverage over any president over Russia. He understands it, and I just think that we have to really start pressuring them. Thanks so much, Ambassador. Appreciate it.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.